Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Camp Content, the go-to podcast where the art of marketing meets the science of creativity. Today, we're thrilled to host a truly exceptional guest, Hersh Rephun, widely known as the message therapist, with a fascinating journey that spans across handling multi-million-dollar campaigns for startups and guiding brand strategies for billion-dollar corporations. Hersh has carved a niche in the marketing world with his innovative approach to communication. His expertise doesn't just stop at businesses. He's also worked with fledgling filmmakers and Oscar nominees, proving that effective messaging transcends industries. Hersh's philosophy is straightforward yet profound. All branding is personal. I love that. And he's here to show us how deep those personal connections need to go to make a brand successful. Today, we're going to explore his unique methods, dive into why he believes that selling the truth can sometimes taste funny, and uncover how he helps personal brands reach their full potential. So, welcome to the show, Hersh.
Thank you, Molly. That was the best introduction that I've ever received on a podcast. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Well, that's what I was going for, honestly. I figure if I can't get that right, you know what I mean? What am I doing in my life? Well, we have gone a little bit back and forth on LinkedIn because of our crazy schedules, but that just means I've had longer time to be connected with you on LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
I love your content. I love the stuff you post. I have a bunch of quotes that I pulled from your LinkedIn because I just think that you're a gem. And I really
Oh,
appreciate like the content you're putting out and stuff you're talking about and all your years of experience. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation for sure.
thank you, and likewise, Molly.
Thank you. So let's do a quick little snapshot about your business. Tell us your business, where's it located, where are your clients, a little Shark Tank snapshot, if you will.
Yeah. So the snapshot of me now is really the focus on message therapy. Message therapy is what I've done my whole career. It's just that I never really had formalized it until about a year ago. I realized I was working with all these bigger brands before COVID, and then when I had a little bit of an unplanned break, as we all did, I got to think about, well, what's my favorite part of working with clients on their brand, and it was working with the people. And I
Mm,
realized that the greatest impact I can have, even if they're CEOs, founders, they're at the leadership level for sure, but I can actually have an impact on their personal brand. And what's that like? It's sitting with somebody in a room, talking with them about their brand and their message and their belief systems, and that's like therapy, because they tell you stuff, and I realized my superpower wasn't really writing per se. It was listening. It was
mm.
listening to how they talk about themselves. And you're just, I believe me, we've both listened to a lot of really gifted brand evangelists. It's just very different when they're talking about themselves and they're talking about their personal goals. So it really, at this stage of my career, felt like that's that's what I want to focus on, these one-on-one. Now, it may help their corporate brand, or it may help their business, of course, but it's leveraging that personal brand and that personal voice that really excites me.
I like that a lot. I think we're entering in this different stage too. There's a lot of people exiting companies. There's a lot of,
Yeah.
there's a lot happening, right? And your personal brand really does matter because I think people are more interested in investing in people and spending with people and not companies. Um, Even on a B2B level, right? Like we work with the people that we like. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, right? Like that's what we're if you're looking at three proposals and they're all basically the same, you're gonna go with the one that you like, the person you
Right.
like, you know?
And you're gonna, we talked about, you mentioned LinkedIn. You're gonna be seeing these people in the neighborhood, so to speak. You're gonna be looking at their content here and there. You're gonna, it's just become, as much as it's digitized, it's still a more personalized world.
I agree. I mean, I've been doing a lot of newsletters on LinkedIn and I was trying to write for SEO and write what I thought people wanted. And then I just started to write like I talk, which is borderline stand-up comic. And I think people appreciate my newsletters a lot more because it's not like everything else on LinkedIn.
For
I don't
sure.
talk like them. I don't talk about what I learned about B2B marketing from my weekend. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that. So can you give me an example where you have worked with a client on their message therapy, like a great case study you want to share?
Yeah, I think a good case study is one of my longest standing clients, because I think you can see over time, doesn't mean that some of this stuff will happen overnight, but I've worked with a director named Jordan Brady for a long time. He's a filmmaker, commercial filmmaker, really. So he has a company called True Gentleman Industries,
Mm.
TrueGent.tv, and several years ago, he realized that he wanted to do more than just be a director for hire, and I think a lot of that came from the idea that he had to take his, career in his own hands. You could be on the roster of a production company. He had his own company, and he had other directors on the roster, and my getting PR for him was kind of part of what I did for him. I was really called a publicist at the time, but we worked together on a lot of different initiatives, promoting a lot of different things, of facets of his personality as a father, an inclusivity advocate, as a filmmaking instructor, and a mentor. So all these different facets came together to form this kind of mini empire now that exists. Books, podcasts, all that, and a lot of it, as I mentioned before, it's not really me. It's not me making that person something, but it's me sitting down with that person and saying, how do we talk about this? Where do we put this? Who needs to see this? And so now if you go to uh commercialdirectingfilmschool.com, you see all of his offerings, his podcasts, his uh retreats that he does with aspiring filmmakers and young filmmakers, um all these different things. And that's the exactly the type of personal brand that I enjoy being involved with, because number one, the emphasis is definitely on personal. It definitely is infused with his worldview, you
Hmm.
know, and that's another thing that I tell clients. It's not a time to sit on the sidelines. You don't have to go in and fight every fight that's going on, every political, that's not the point. But the things that pertain to you, you should share, because that last line on your bio, that's what you like to do most, or, all that may be the most important thing that you could share, because it may be what really drives you.
Well, I can say I'm a testament to that because I moved to Costa Rica 3 years ago, and apparently, it's the most interesting thing about me now is that I live in Costa Rica. So, and it's what everybody wants to talk about, like on every sales call or first meeting. They
Yeah.
say, "What are those real palm? Is that a real hammock? Wait, that's not a background." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And then they go, "It's nice to meet you, but I hate you." But
Well,
yeah.
as someone who grew up in Miami and now lives in Iowa, which is a long story, but it's like, yeah, there's nothing behind the wall that is worth really seeing, which is why I don't have a window there. My wife and my daughter are going to Costa Rica next week.
Oh, well,
Um,
you gotta
yeah,
connect me for sure, you
I
never know.
I
You might be
will.
close by. I'm right by the, Arenal volcano, so
Okay.
a lot of people come this way. But, that reminds me of one of the quotes that I read on your LinkedIn that said, "You can do anything, but you can't have everything," and I thought that was, like, the best quote I have read in such a long time. Uh,
Yeah, and I well, thank you, except that I have to also give credit to a guy named Captain Lou. Captain Lou runs the Marketers Cruise, if you're familiar with the Marketers Cruise, and he says that on the trip as well. He says, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. But in my case, it's, you can do anything, but you can't have everything. You can't have
Everything.
everything go your way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was really brilliant. Another quote of yours too, that many of us are more prepared for no than yes. I thought that was such a profound statement as well. It kind of hit me in the feels a
Yeah.
little bit because, business has gotten harder to get in 2024. It's a different market than it was in the pandemic, after the pandemic, the world is changing. We're changing. There's an election. There's a lot of things happening. And I think that business has gotten harder for people. Are you seeing a resistance to people investing more in personal branding right now because of the market shifts? Or do you think it's more relevant? I mean, there's so many like fractional CEOs or fractional
I
people on
think
the market now. It feels more
I
relevant.
yeah, I think, Molly, it's the latter. I feel like, fortunately, the timing is right because people are in a place of necessary reinvention.
Hmm.
There, some of them are pivoting because during the pandemic they realized they weren't so happy and they wanted to do something a little more meaningful, but that still means that they have to, you know, recalibrate their image. Another thing I say is that you don't necessarily need a makeover or a rebrand, but you could use a little message therapy because you don't necessarily have to change everything about your brand, your personal brand, but there may be a lot of opportunities that you're missing. And people are realizing that. And so they're more I think what's interesting is that people need to invest in lead generation, or they need to invest in marketing or PR, but without the brand message being really strong and as I say, incomparable. Like, that's a big word, incomparable, but
Hmm.
that's what I promise, because I'm like, well, no two people are alike. But it may be a challenge to figure out exactly who you are, exactly what makes you different, but that's my specialty. So I think without that incomparable brand, you can't really expect to break through with your leads, break through with your audience, break through when you hire a publicist, a more traditional publicist, to get you on shows and get you in places. They gotta have that, they gotta be armed with that gold.
Absolutely. I mean, what's interesting to me is what you said earlier about maybe being a little bit um spicy, if you will, or not fighting every single political image, but like, with the importance of like authenticity and social responsibility and branding, sometimes it feels like you can't say anything. And if you don't say everything, it feels as a business owner that your back is
Yeah.
against the wall, because if you say, one thing to one per group, you're leaving out another group. So how are you navigating that? Because I thought that was interesting. Are you encouraging people to kind of lean in a little bit on that?
What I'm actually encouraging is, you mentioned selling the truth, right? That's gonna be that's the title of my book. I have a book coming out in, September. It's called Selling the Truth, a memoir with insights for life and business. It's a memoir because it's kinda like a semi-memoir. It's like
Okay.
my it's not my life story,
Right.
but it's got anecdotes from my life that all point to selling the truth, meaning you have what you have to work with. So I'm not saying to people, get up on a soapbox. I'm
Mhm.
saying look inside yourself for those things that are really true for you, and they are your core beliefs, and they are
Mm.
things don't waver depending on things like politics or charged atmosphere or world events. Go inside and dig in there. It's like I was thinking today, you know, 6, 7 years ago, we were obsessed with, like, sharing our opinions on Facebook. We had to, as soon as something happened in the world, we had to go log in and check in and tell everybody what we thought about it. And it's like, I'm so glad that really nobody cares what I think about most things, because I'm like, I would hate that to be a preoccupation of mine. I have to go and tell people what I think about world events. No, but if we all take our corner of the world in our own internal,
Right.
passion and what's really important to us, we have so much more to offer, and that's what I advocate for. Go inside, let's dig around, let's find those things, and then let's shape them into messaging that resonates. Because just feeling it isn't enough, right? We know that. Just feeling it isn't enough to get it out there.
I love that. I think that's important because right now everybody's being encouraged to like stay vanilla, stay quiet, don't use the wrong words, don't use the wrong pronouns. It's like I feel like a lot of people are really just stifled and don't know what to say. You know, I was chatting with a guy who has teenage daughters and he's like, they're constantly telling me what I'm not allowed to say anymore, you know? And I think there's a lot of progress in that. Like I love that the kids are shaking things up, but I think it's also like left a lot of people feeling very afraid to say anything, and I
Yeah.
don't think that that's a fulfilled life, right? Like, I don't think you should be knocking down, like, protest lines or anything like that unless that's your jam, but I do think there's importance in that because what we do every day is who we are, right?
Yeah.
So, if that's not reflected in your business, then what are you doing?
And my tip for that is intent. Is like I talk a lot about comedy because I did stand-up comedy for many years, and what I learned was, you say, "Well, how far is too far? What's not funny anymore? What crosses the line?" Well, intent is like 9/10 of the law when it comes to that. So
Right.
if you mean well and you're really thinking positively, what's a positive, constructive, good,
Mm,
kind thing to say in this situation? And maybe I learned that from my parents, from the way my parents would talk to me as a kid and the way I talk to my own kids or try to, where it's all coming from what's the most helpful way or the most helpful thing. It doesn't always work. You can't control how people receive your words, but
right.
you can make clear to yourself and to others the intent. And that I think is how you earn back some of that freedom of speech, right? You know, because no one can say to you, "Well, you were trying to hurt somebody, so that's wrong," or "I didn't like that," or "You hurt me." You're really thinking constructively and with a kind of a communal atmosphere.
I love that. I think that's an important distinction. I think like stand-up comedians have to wear all the silly things they say everywhere they go. But the intent was to make us laugh, and that's the
Yeah.
difference. They're not an elected official, they're not responsible to us, they're not driving our
Well, that
yearly budgets, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's Larry David said that recently. He was on an interview with Mark Maron, who's another comedian, and he said, you used to be able to, like, make a joke and walk away, and then, like, that's what you do. You tell jokes. You're a joke teller. You get up on stage, you say something, you walk away. Now it's like everything is treated as though it was meant to be the final analysis of your opinion on a subject,
right,
and
right.
that's the other thing. Opinions were supposed to be malleable, not, you know, not a position that you
Mm,
have on a certain topic. Hey, what if? And jokes, I mean, without humor, how do we survive? How are we supposed to survive without laughter?
I mean, I haven't, well, alcohol is the second answer, but that's the Irish in me. I prefer laughter as well.
Yeah.
So what kind of companies or what kind of people would be a good fit for starting a brand? Like if somebody is on the fence about starting a personal brand, what does that look like and what's your best advice for them?
Well, there's 2 ways to look at that, Molly. One is that if someone is starting out in business for the first time, right? That's going to be a different approach. In which case, what is the business there? What I would say is look for the novelty. Where is the new piece in what you're doing? Is it new because nobody's ever seen anybody with your perspective on this particular industry? Is it new because you developed a software that does X, Y, and Z that nothing's ever done before? What is the nugget of originality that that you should lean toward? That's if you have no career history. And tend at this point, other than my kids, not to work with people who are just starting out, because I'm
Right.
not really a startup guy, but I have in my career worked with startups, and I have some clients that were startups when I started. Like I've worked with them for a long time. But I think that then there's the part where you're thinking about let's say you were in a C-suite, your whole career. Now you're ready to start your own company and bring your own expertise. Well, now we should talk because your personal brand may be pretty wedded to your success in the corporate world, and that can be hard to pull apart. And so you're now thinking, wow, it's like being married for 40 years and then saying, oh, well, who am I anymore? Let's say, you know? So someone could be like, I've been with this company for 20 years. Now I want to start my own. Who am I? And that's a very real thing. And we start with everything that everything they believe, everything they feel in their heart that makes them happy, the things that give them joy. And that's why I call it message therapy, because it's very therapeutic. It's not, clinical, but
Mhm.
it's deep. And that to me is like, that's where all deep is where all the best stuff is.
Right. Unless you're in the ocean, and then it gets scary out there. But yes.
Well, there's great stuff there too, but there you have to be very, very careful and be a good scuba diver and have all the,
Yeah. Well,
have all the proper equipment.
just like therapy, honestly, it's very similar. So, um, I love that. I think that's, in this age of like AI and data and everything else, it's like you're getting really personal. And I think that really matters. And I do think that's what's going to make people stand out, because it's a noisy market, especially with all the layoffs and this new fractional world that we live in. And like, I think that's fantastic. I love the fractional idea of like stepping in, pinch hitters, if you will, right? But
Yeah.
it just means there's a lot of competition, right? And there's a lot of other fractional people trying to get that gig too. And I think with the hidden job market, how do you stand out? And a personal brand seems to me like a really clear answer.
Another thing that comes to mind, Molly, is that, you have CMOs, people that are not fractional, but are not staying as long in the job. The
Right.
turnover is high, and where someone used to go to work for a company and that would be their career at that
Right.
company, and they, until the gold watch, until they retire,
Right.
they wouldn't necessarily need to worry about their personal brand. But
Right.
now there's instability to the point where, like you say, the competition is fierce.
Right.
Oh, nice. The competition is fierce. Even the dog wants
She
to be a
wants in.
CMO. It
Yeah.
could be anything, but the competition at the top and all the way throughout companies is fierce. So people have a right to their personal brand and have a
Hmm.
need for it. Because remember, there was a time where, side hustles, for example,
Right.
People some people keep it from their boss if they have if they have like a W-2 situation, they don't wanna rock the boat, but a lot of people are like, "No, I told my boss, that I do this as a side
Yeah.
hustle,"
Yeah.
because everybody's doing their work, they're doing what they're supposed to do, so they can do a side hustle just as much as they can go to a ball game, like, what's the difference?
What's the difference? It might even be less time. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a great point. So let's get into some speed round questions for you.
Oh, great,
Um,
yes.
yeah. So, what is one word that every brand should embody in 2024? Every personal brand should embody in 2024.
Authenticity. I'm just so tired of authenticity that I want them to embrace authenticity and see what people do. See
You
what
know
people say. They say,
that
that's very authentic.
it's
You
authentic. You're hilarious.
authentic. You like this? It's authentic
Yeah,
cotton,
yeah, like the
um,
fake, like the plastic leather. The vegans are like, no, that's
leather.
is yeah, pleather exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of your thing that you do called legit bios for fake people.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love that. I love
I do
doing that.
too. I do too. I saw that.
Thank
I was
you.
like, that's hilarious
Well,
because
you're gonna like the book. You're gonna like my Selling the Truth book because every well, I shouldn't say this, but the legit bios get in there. The legit bios are in the book, and
nice.
so they're more than the ones that are in my on my blog.
Oh, that's so good. What a creative
But
and fun way to talk about things. I really enjoyed it. It's so much different than what everybody else is doing.
well,
Um,
for people who don't know, the concept of legit bios for fake people is that, if you can find kernels of truth that are actually true, but can be about the most difficult people to write nice things about, you can find nice things to say about them that are true, then it can be then your own brand is gonna be easy, right? And so I just thought of people like, Captain Hook or the Wicked Witch or Scarface or whatever it might be, and it's
Right.
like you say,
Right.
"Well, if I can write a real stellar bio about them and every word based on the movie or book that they're from is true,
Right. Right.
then we can do it for you."
I mean, like John Wayne Gacy, like excellent at face makeup, that was a little
That's
dark.
not
Okay.
mine, but yes.
Okay, number 2, what is a brand that does a phenomenal job at, a person, I should say, who does a phenomenal job at personal branding?
Ooh, um, oh, that one that's one I kind of wanna I don't wanna mention a client, that would be disingenuous. Um, let's see, who's really, really good at personal branding? Oh, Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., and here's why I say that, because, for example, I just he's got this thing, he's partnered in this thing, Happy Coffee. Obviously, it's got an environmental and public and good, good Samaritan consciousness to it. Same thing with turning his car collection into electric cars. Same thing, all the things that he uses his really vibrant persona for are along the same lines and very aligned. So, and clearly he doesn't need the money. He doesn't need to do anything. He's continuing to succeed in work and life and all that. But as soon as you see the thing, if he's attached to it, that there's a do-good element to it. So right away you have the star power, the positivity, extremely positronic guy, and the do-good aspect. Of course you're going to see if that coffee's good, or you're going to go to that site, or you're going
For
to,
sure.
so I think that from the point of view of really not just being famous, but utilizing every single thing at your disposal to do good stuff and be consistent about it and still seem very real, and not, and like we talked about in the beginning, not overstepping into areas that are none of your business, right? So nobody's saying, "Oh man, I wish that guy would shut up."
Right.
And it's which is not unusual, that celebrities they get a lot of exposure, they're famous, and then people are like, "Just shut up." Nobody ever says that to him, because the things he's talking about, if you notice, are always positive and constructive. And so that's who I would mention.
Robert Downey Jr. for the win. All right, who's your favorite comedian?
Um, well, historically, like ever, probably you would say, who was my favorite comedian of all time, I would say Don Rickles was my favorite comedian of all time, because he brought he always people don't remember this necessarily, but he always ended all of those streaks of ball busting and all that stuff with warmth and kindness and sweetness. So if he was doing a roast, or if he was just making fun of somebody, it always ended with sweetness, which is what the goal was. That's kind of my all-time favorite comic. There are a lot of people out there today that I really like. I really love Bill Burr. I really like John Mulaney. Um, those are two that I think of for different reasons, that are both really good.
I love it. I gotta check him out more. I know who he is, but he's a little bit ahead of my time. But I remember seeing him on shows and stuff. But I'll have to check out some of his stand up, because I appreciate his
Yeah.
stand up as well.
Yeah, you'll and most of it was, the crowd work's become very big now, but most of it was crowd work. Most of it was not writing jokes. It was just letting loose,
Yeah.
and it's great, but
What
it's a
have you
fun
have,
art form.
have you heard Matt Rife? Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, yeah, I'm familiar with him. I've seen
He
his stuff, like his crowd work's a big thing with him.
he's
Oh,
really good at it. You can't help but like the kid if you watch enough of his stuff. He's not the funniest person on the planet, but man, he's fast on his feet. He's really fast on
yeah.
his Okay, and then what's your current tech stack? What are the main tech products that you like to use in your business?
Oh, I'm so not a techie
That's
when
okay.
it comes, I use what I'm trying to do is divest from any tech that I don't use for more than 6 months. It's like, you know, like because when you get on a purpose, you get on a mission and you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that." Like when I started podcasting, the mics, I have like 2 mics in the closet, you
Right.
know. I have a board, mixing Vocaster board here. It's
Mhm.
like I don't I do like that kind of stuff, like the headphones and the mics and the
Right.
whole thing. So I am a sucker for like, high quality um audio visual technology.
There you go.
And, and so but that's kinda what I'm into, but I'm not I don't trust my own, expertise in technology.
That's okay. Well, you have a great mic and you sound better than a lot of my guests, so you're already winning.
Thank you.
So, yes, thank
Well,
you.
it's a Vocaster, so we'll give them their props. I did
Sure.
go through a bunch of stuff. Shure is a good brand, but,
That's what I've got.
yeah,
Shout out.
they're a good very good brand,
Yeah,
but, I have one in the closet.
there you go. Everybody's got a Shure in the car. I got one in the closet too, actually,
Right.
a different one. Okay, and then our last segment of the show is called Real or Fake, and I'm gonna list off some podcast names, and then you tell me if you
Okay,
think they're real or fake. Okay, number one,
okay.
brand craft, the art of identity.
Is that supposed to be like a great title or brand craft, the art of identity? I would say real.
It's fake.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I didn't like it.
Okay, number
Okay.
two, let's make mistakes.
Real.
It is real. I'm gonna give you
Yeah.
got that right.
Okay.
Number three, unbuttoned stories of success in unusual fields.
Fake.
Real.
Okay. All right. Good luck with it.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with it.
There's so many bad ones. I think we're at number five now. Logo logic, decoding design.
That could be real.
Fake.
Oh, all these,
This is
all
my
these Monday.
favorite segment because everybody gets them wrong.
Everybody gets these wrong. Okay. Go ahead.
Exactly. All right, and then the last one is Dingbat Dungeon, a creatives conclave.
Real.
That one's real. I have to work on my
Yeah.
my poker face. If you really want to know if I'm lying or not, just look at me and then you'll know if it's real.
Right.
Yeah. Dingbat Dungeon. Who comes up with these things though? Seriously.
Dingbat Dungeon.
A
A
creatives
creatives
conclave.
enclave is what what makes me curious. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you never know. Well, listen, Ersh, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed it. I think you gave everybody some really good tips on personal branding, how to stand out, really dialing in on your message and what you care about. So if this has resonated with people and they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best thing they can do is follow my advice and get message therapy. They can go to getmessagetherapy.com and they can find me there.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
and or they can look up Truth Tastes Funny, which is my one of my podcasts. Yes, Brand and Truth Tastes Funny.
There you go. So, and of course, follow him on LinkedIn. It'll actually improve your LinkedIn feed and make it more enjoyable to be on the platform, checking out his content. It's some really good stuff. One of my favorite things about doing this podcast is connecting with new people like you, and you have made my LinkedIn feed a lot more enjoyable. When I log in now, I'm actually engaging with more content, reading more stuff, and really appreciating the new influence. So, thank you for making my LinkedIn feed even better than it was before.
Oh, thank you, Molly. This has been such a pleasure. I'm so glad we finally aligned and got to do this.
That's right. Well, maybe we'll do it again. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
And until next time, thank you for tuning in to Camp Content. And if you found this content valuable, leave a comment on the link below and let's connect. And until next time, be good to each other. And I'll see you on LinkedIn. All right, all right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Camp Content. This is Molly.
And this is Matt.
And we are Heartcast Media, aka Camp Content, and we appreciate all of your support. If you found this content valuable, please comment on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you find us, and we will make sure to comment back.
And be sure to go on and subscribe and like on your favorite platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Leave us that subscription, leave us that good review.
We'll love you forever. So until next time, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.
Thank you for tuning into Camp Content, hosted by Heartcast Media. We are a digital content agency focused on content marketing for businesses and brands. If you're looking to save time and be more consistent with your marketing and need a little guidance on what to say and how to say it and where to say it, we got your back. Book a discovery call today and let's talk.